Hi, I'm Lisa Murray, and we are talking about spontaneous creation and turning your content into cash. So, what does that actually mean? Well, most of us have a topic, or in some cases, a number of topics where we know a lot about those topics. And what happens is that we forget how much we know, and that expertise we tend to not value. So I have got Matthew Cooperthwaite here from South Africa, and he's going to be asking me the good questions about how you can change that, how you can actually take what you know and turn it into something that's not only valuable to you, but to other people. Hi, Matt.
Hey Lisa, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good, good, good. So I think my first question off the bat is, um, you know, a lot of the time we don't value our own knowledge, and we don't think what we know is actually good enough or good enough to sell. And that's kind of a limitation I think a lot of people face, including myself. And how can we get over that? And how can we actually create what we know into cash and fast, spontaneously?
Fast. You want fast? Sure. Alrighty. Let's see. So, the first thing is like valuing what you know, because it's really easy when you do something really easily to go, oh, but everyone can do that. And the reality is that they can't. And for me, like marketing was something that came really, really naturally. Like when I was in like grade 11 at school, people would say, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to do marketing. I didn't even know what the word meant, but I knew I was going to do marketing. And what was really funny about that was it was very natural for me. And I really never did any study because it was like, well, isn't this just common sense? So those things where you go, isn't this just common sense? Doesn't everyone know this? They're the things that you can actually make money out of. And I made money out of marketing for a long time and I did very well from it. So this is the thing of actually looking at everything in your life and going, okay, so what are the things that are so easy for me I don't even realize I know it? And the things that, maybe even look at, well, what questions do people ask you? What do people ask you to help them with? Because often they're the things. And, I became a business coach through this as well, because literally had burnout and someone said to me, well, what are you good at? And I'm like, oh, business. And this person said, oh, well, go and be a business coach. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could do that. And I realized when I started doing it, I'd been doing it over a glass of wine for free, for friends, for years. And so this is the thing of what is it that you're giving away for free that maybe you could be charging good money for? And so that's the first part of looking at this topic. Now, what else did you ask me? Because I think you asked me a second part, and I can't remember what it was now. Something about fast and something
Yeah,
else.
yeah. So the second part was about it being spontaneous and fast, like, um, just so we know what we know, and like how can we use that and create something really, really fast. And because our topics have been about spontaneous creation, and something that's also just joy and fun.
Yeah, cool. Well, one of the fastest ways you can create cash from what you know is by providing a service. You can also create products, and we're going to go into both of these things when we do the 3-hour live stream and, of course, the live event in Cape Town. But if you want money fast, then create a service that revolves around what you know. Because literally, once I chose to become a business coach, I went to networking because I figured, well, there'll be people there with businesses. And literally, I think the first almost networking event I went to, I got a client. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to do with that person now. And of course, 7 years later, it's extremely obvious to me. I have lots of systems and processes and ways of developing businesses. But back then, I didn't have a structured process. And what I found was that every person that came to me, if I was willing to listen between the lines to what they were asking, then I actually could develop the systems and processes around what I knew. And so this is the beginning of actually taking that content, that expertise that you have, and bringing it into a space where you can make a lot of money from it. Because you know things that almost no one else in the world knows, whether you think you do or not. And one thing I've always done is actually record all of the sessions I've done with my clients. And mainly for the reason of you say these brilliant things that you don't even realize you know. And then you've actually got a record of them. And so much of what I teach now to much bigger groups comes from a lot of those early conversations where things would pop out of my mouth and I'd be like, oh, that was a surprise to me as well as them, you know? So I think one of the things is we try and make this so much harder than it actually is. And would you be willing to have this be really easy?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love that.
You would? Okay. So, Matt, what is it that you know that no one else knows?
Hmm. Good question. Well, I know how to live stream, and there's a live stream coming up.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Exactly. So that's it, right? But this is the
Exactly,
thing.
exactly.
I did not want to work out all the technology. That was just like, nah, you know, not fun for me at all. Whereas for you, there's a joy and an ease to it. And so this
Yeah.
is, you know, if you're looking for a place to start and for, you know, fast money, then certainly this is one way to do it, is just to look at, okay, what's the thing that would be fun for me, that is easy, that people would pay me for?
Yeah.
And yeah, and you know the other thing about this is I would say having a sense of curiosity is really important. You know, like I have a lot of diverse interests, and all of those things feed my capacity to facilitate the classes like we're going to do in Cape Town. And even tonight, I went to get some dinner, and I was waiting to collect the food, and I was reading a book about autism, and that's just one of the many things that feeds bits of information. And it was all about how the brain works. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really useful. So how many different bits of information could you add to what you know that would also give you this sort of capacity to connect dots in ways that other people can't? And that's where you become really valuable, and that's when you start to be able to actually ask for more money than most people in your industry. So what else would you like to know?
Okay. Um, Great question. What else would I like to know?
Or have I totally fried you with that little bit?
No, I'm still totally processing it, just trying to think of all the different dots that I could connect and so on. And I'm sure a lot of the people that'll be listening into this video will be wondering the same thing. And how can people get more of this information from you, Lisa?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're going to do during the live stream is we're going to spend 3 hours actually talking about this. And actually, I've got quite a number of processes I use with people where we actually unpack what you know. So it's not like you just have to make it up out of thin air. There's actually ways to identify that knowledge that you have that often
Yeah.
is unspoken, actually. And so we're going to play with some of that. And we're going to look at, okay, so there's some information, and then there's a whole lot of possible ways that you could put that out into the world. You know, like there's a whole sort of body of knowledge I have around enjoying your work and, you know, creating work you love. And I actually thought that was going to be a book for a really long time. And the more I
Mm-hmm.
played with all of that information, the more I realized it does not want to be a book at all. It wants to be a whole lot of other things. And that's part of what we're creating with this live stream. And so this is where you start to look at the information. You go, well, what is the best way to put it out into the world? What is and when I say way, it can be ways. It doesn't have to be just one way. And so we're going to play with that because there are many, many, many alternatives. And sometimes when you look at all those alternatives, it can feel like drowning. And there are some really simple techniques that you can use to actually decide, okay, this is how this is going to go out into the world at first. And, you know, for my love your work, so to speak, that as soon as I realized it wasn't a book, it actually freed up a whole lot of energy. And I've been playing with a whole lot of other ways of creating it. And yeah, who knows where it's going to end up. And this is the fun thing also. You don't have to decide, oh, this is the answer and I'm going to stick with that for the rest of my life. So we're going to play with that. And of course, we're also going to play with the part about pricing. Because a lot of people, when they get to the bit of how much am I going to charge, it's like, you know, deer in the headlights, oh my God, I have to charge money for this, but this is my fun thing. And so, you know, we're going to play with that as well. It's really funny. I love to cook, and especially desserts. And for many, many, many years, there's one group of friends where I am always in charge of desserts. And the boys are always like, well, why don't you open a cafe? And me and the other friend that I cook with often, we're like, no way in hell. We don't want to have to do this. That's for the pleasure. And so we're also going to distinguish between those things that are totally for pleasure and those things that you'd be willing to do for money, because you need to know the difference, because otherwise you end up taking those things that you love to do for pleasure and turning them into work and turning them into drudgery. And this is not about that. This is really about going, okay, what are the things that I would love to get paid for that would give me pleasure? And also with your expertise, you can package it in many ways where you get paid over and over and over for that same information. So you're not constantly working to create. And yeah, that's something else we're going to talk about. So we're going to pack a lot into that 3 hours.
Awesome. It sounds amazing. And if you guys are wanting to find out more information about these 3 hours, these specific 3 hours are coming up on Sunday, the 21st of September. However, there's a whole bunch of stuff a whole bunch of series or little sessions that we're calling them for 3 hours each on different topics that we've already discussed earlier on. Well, not in this interview, but in previous interviews, and you can check it out on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find it there. And pretty much what's happening is we're live streaming from Cape Town. I'm so excited about that. And Lisa's going to be there with us in Cape Town answering your questions. And if you're live streaming, or you can come and join us in Cape Town. And a lot of people, when live streaming, they don't necessarily they don't feel like they're getting the full-on interaction, that they can't ask questions. But we figured out a way that's going to allow you to actually Skype in live with Lisa and ask your questions in your own personal voice. So that's going to be really, really fun. And if you'd be up for that kind of interaction, we'd love to have you on the live stream. You can get more information about the live stream on the 20th and the 21st of September over at creativitylab.live.tv. And you'll see all the registration details there and all the fun information. So that's my little
Cool. Yeah, and yeah, what I would say actually, if you want to find the rest of these videos, if you just Google Lisa Murray on YouTube, or search on YouTube actually is probably a better idea, Lisa Murray and Creativity Lab Live, you'll come up with the playlist and all the videos will be there. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I think you've learned something about what's possible for you and making money from what you know, because it's so easy to discount that and think that's the last thing that we should make money from, that work should be hard. And actually, what if it's the easiest, most fun thing? So, hope you come play with us.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.